Our next speaker will be Dr. Joel Turner of the Tampa Bay, Florida class, and the topic is Yahweh Elohim, always in shape and form.
Good afternoon. Okay, it's good to be here, and somehow I feel that I'm supposed to be here. Recently, had some weird stuff happen to me, and I'm a guy, so I like power tools. And I got a new power tool. It's an electric saw, cuts tree branches. And to make sure it had enough power, I got one of those cords that are about this thick around. And I'm out trimming my palm trees next to the pool, and I hit a branch, and a swarm of wasps came out of it. Now, I'm allergic to wasps. I took one step back and fell with that power tool in my pool.
Oh, wow.
Went all the way under, so I did the power tool, and I kind of popped out of the water and kind of felt like, why am I alive? It didn't even blow the breaker. And then a little bit later on, I teach at night at university, and I'm driving along very fast, and this guy swerves right into my lane. I get into a head-on collision. The airbag didn't even go off. There was a scratch on my bumper, and I pretty much crushed the car I hit, you know? And I kind of asked myself, okay, well, why am I here? You know, and then yeah, it just seems like I should be here. And in my arrogance, I think, well, I must have something to say. But then I thought, wait a minute, this is Joel Turner. I must have something I need to learn. I even go to the parking lot on the way here. At Tampa, the long-term parking lot was closed. Tampa's a very large airport. Short-term parking lot was open. And I was afraid I was going to miss my flight because I went around. It goes around and around and around. It has like 10 stories. And I had started at the lower area, and I got up to the 8th floor, and there was still not a parking spot. I didn't know what I was going to do. So this woman comes out of nowhere, and she goes, down there. Okay? So I go down there, and there's a spot. Okay, and I get a parking spot, and I get my stuff out, and I look up, and it's spot 888. So I don't know, but I'm sure happy to be here. Maybe next time I fall in the pool, I'll be fried, okay? But for now, I'm here. Now, can I just mention a couple things about angels first, and then get into the topic? That's what I'd like to do. First, I'd like to, Frank offered how that third of the angels were cast down, and that we were the 1/3 being put back in. Well, you have that over there in Zechariah, 13th chapter, the 7th verse. If you could read that for me, please. Just want to give a witness on it, if that's okay. I'm much more extroverted than Frank, so you'll have to get used to it. I wish he wouldn't hold back so much. Frank's a good friend of mine, so I can say that. Go ahead. 13 and 7.
Zechariah 13 and 7. Awake, O sword, against my shepherd, and against the man that is my fellow, saith Yahweh of hosts.
Go ahead.
Smite the shepherd, and the sheep shall be scattered, and I will turn mine hand upon the little ones.
Go ahead.
And it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith Yahweh, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die.
Now 2/3 are going to be cut off and die. Go ahead.
But the third shall be left therein.
But the third shall be left therein, and that's us, folks. Okay? The angels that he's talking about, they are our brethren. Okay? Now go ahead.
9. And I will bring the third part through the fire.
Now, if you're going through some hard times, well, you're supposed to. Okay? You're going through the fire, folks. That's what being in this creation is all about. You're being refined. You see, Yahshua is saving your soul. You see, but like Dr. Kinley said, he said what he got, you know, instantaneously, we are getting, you see, piecemeal. And what he got by revelation, he said, we're getting by faith. Okay? Now go ahead.
9, and I will bring the third part through the fire.
Now a third is going to go through the fire.
And will refine them as silver
And
is
will be
refined.
refined. It will be as silver is refined. Go ahead.
And will try them as gold is tried.
And you're going to be tried as gold is tried.
They shall call on my name, and I will hear them.
Yep.
I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, Yahweh is my Elohim.
You see, and we shall call on his name. Yahweh is salvation. And that we do need salvation. And that we do need grace. You see, I love grace. Grace is my favorite thing. Okay? Without grace, we're all lost. You see? Now, couple more things. Now, have you ever heard of the statement, wag the dog? Okay? Wag the dog is what happens to politicians when they say something stupid, okay, and then they have to cover their tracks. Okay? So instead of the dog wagging his tail, the tail is telling the dog what to do. Okay? And in a way, when I look at, you see, this progressive doctrines that are being taught, it's kind of a wagging the dog situation. Okay? Because if you remember, years ago, they started saying that you can't split up spirit, soul, and body. Okay? So now they have to give you another body to kind of fix it. And every time they go along, they're fixing things and adding stuff and changing stuff to try to make it fit. Now the thing that got me when I first came down to this class is how that everything fit together so beautifully. How the pattern, you see, and the migration, and the law and the prophets, and the names, and the covenants. I mean, you can't really even talk about one thing that it don't lead you into something else. Because they all fit together so nicely. Okay? Now, when I've talked to people and asked them questions about this progressive doctrine, okay, one answer I get is, well, you have to go and ask Dr. Harrison. Okay? Because they can't explain it. Now, this reminds me, when I was 17 in class, I got a phone call from Mike Josephson. Mike was a police cadet at that time. And he was working nights. And he said, Joel, I got some Mormons here. Come on over. We want to talk to them. Okay? He says, I've locked their bikes to the telephone pole so they can't get away. Sorry, Mike. So I said, Mike, take the lock off. I'll be there as soon as I can. Okay? So we got there, and they were in the house next door. And as soon as they came out, Mike and I kind of, well, not what we want to talk to. And they came on in, and they had this little book. And they had this page, and they're paging through the book. And they're telling their little story. And I said, well, can I ask you a question? And I started asking the question. And they kind of looked at me like, what? They were dumbfounded that anybody would ask a question. And it messed the guy up so much he had to go back to the beginning of the book, okay, and start over again. And I say this because this is the same experience I have had with people trying to explain this progressive doctrine. That you stop them and you ask them a question, okay? You ask them a question, let's say, let's not try a real hard one, okay? Let's try an easy one. If Yahshua is saving himself, what is he saving himself from?
Yes.
You got to ask Dr. Harris. That's what I get. Or let me get you. My dean can explain that, and I'll go to their dean, and they'll say, you got to go to Dr. Harris. And they have that blank stare on their face. Now I know there's something deadly wrong with that. You see. Now, anyways, so recently, okay, now, I don't want to name names, but there's a person, okay, he has an MD, and his last name begins with H, okay, and he came to Florida, and I'm just being stupid, but I'm telling you that this is who was saying it, okay, and I'm not trying to badmouth anybody, okay, but this man came to Florida and came to Key West, and they had a seminar down there, and they gave him the whole class. And if you look here, you have Yahshua, you see, or Yahweh Elohim at the beginning. And then at the end here, you have Yahshua, and you have some other vessels with him.
Right.
Okay, going back, you see, at the end of the purpose. Okay? And people have brought that out, that you have here the saving of souls. Now, Frank mentioned that what they're saying is, and the explanation is that Yahweh is making new angels, okay? And that all the angels were cast out, okay? And that now he's making new angels, okay? And that's the explanation that they're giving at this time, you see, that he's making those new angels, okay? And what this all goes back to, because you're talking about wagging the dog thing, okay, is Dr. Harris, and I'm sorry to mention his name, but he's the one who's saying this, and I'm not talking anything personally about the man, but I'm telling you where this came from, okay? And he started saying how that these angels, okay, the new ones that Yahweh made, are not like the old ones. Because the new ones, the old ones that were all cast down, okay, now I'm not saying they were cast down, but he says were cast down, were made of this cloud and went by Yahshua. Okay? And he makes a distinction that some of this stuff goes by Yahweh Elohim, and then that's corrupt. Okay, and that's the first angels that were all cast down. And that the new angels, you see, are going through him. Okay? And that's where these new angels or new sons, or, you see, came from. Now, I had this on tape. Okay, so if I misunderstood it, you see, you can listen to the tape and make up your own mind, okay, on the thing. Okay? But you see, that's what they're saying. Okay? Now, first of all, I don't recall any place in the Scriptures where the creation is described as being by Yahweh Elohim or through Yahweh Elohim. That there's a distinction between the two. Okay? You don't find that in the Scriptures. Now, the way that I read, let's see, that Dr. Kinley says, is that Yahweh Elohim reached back into pure spirit and brought in the creation. Is that somewhat correct? Okay? So there's no by him or through him to start with. Now, also in your Scriptures, okay, go on over to Romans, the 9th chapter, like 28, I think. Is this for me?
Romans 9:28.
Dry heat. I feel like I'm in an oven here, and I'm from Florida. Okay? Go ahead.
For he will finish the work and cut it short in righteousness, because a short work will Yahweh make
I
upon
want
the earth.
more of the same one. He's the potter. Romans 9. Isn't that what I said? Oh, I'm sorry. Romans 9. 21.
Hath not the potter power over the clay
Uh-huh.
of the same lump to make one vessel
Now, see,
unto honor?
Folks, pure spirit is the lump. Pure spirit is the stuff. That, see, Yahweh didn't make the creation out of nothing. He made it out of something. You see, this is just IDMR 101. This is basic principles that we were taught. This is what your textbook talks about. This is what Dr. Kinley talks about. That Yahweh, according to Acts, that He's the source. He's the substance. He's the limits and bounds of everything. He's the stuff. Okay? He is the potter, and His substance is the clay. Okay? So, from He's the potter, and from the same lump, right? Go ahead.
To make one vessel unto honor
Now,
and another unto dishonor?
From one lump, he makes a vessel unto honor, and from the same lump, he can make a vessel unto dishonor. So you go on back, you see, to this angelic age, and there was a war in heaven, and a third of that host was cast out. Okay? That was vessels that were made unto dishonor. But it wasn't made by him or through him or inside out or upside down. It's made from the same stuff. You see? And it's from that same lump that he made the satanic spirits, and it's from the same pure spirit that he made this creation. It's the same pure spirit. See, there's nothing else to make it from. It's the same stuff. You see? 101, exactly. That's it. That's the basics. So, it is just, I was reading this transcript, and Dr. Kinley referred to what's being taught out here in the churches as colossal ignorance. Okay? And my opinion, okay, is you can call this colossal ignorance too. Okay? And in this case, it's willful. Okay? Now, a couple more things about angels. You see, if in the beginning of this creation, he made the angels, they're all trashed, all got rid of, thrown into the creation, and heaven's empty. Okay, it's just nobody up there near because they're all cast down, right? Okay, and then he starts. You see, after Pentecost, he starts making new angels. Okay. And these angels going through them and all this other kind of stuff, you see, and that new angels are being created. Okay? But you go back in the scriptures, and you'll find that angels were doing stuff all the way along. Okay? Now you're going to have to help me find this. It's in Genesis. I think it's the 28th chapter. I want Jacob's ladder. Okay? And then also I want you to go on over to... if I could remember, one of my students told me I was old and deaf, okay? And I have a bad memory, too. But the good thing about it is I can give her an F for saying that. Okay, go ahead. Jacob's ladder. Jacob goes into a dream. Can somebody help me?
Genesis
28:10.
28:10.
Genesis 28 and 10.
Mm-hmm.
And Jacob went out from Beersheba and
Go
went
ahead.
toward Haran.
Go ahead.
And he lighted upon a certain place, and tarried there all night, because the sun was set. And he took of the stones of that place, and put them for his pillows,
Okay.
and lay down in that place to sleep.
Go ahead.
And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth.
Now, this is a vision that he's having. Okay? Now, Jacob was a righteous man. Okay? And this is a vision that he is receiving from Yahweh himself. Okay? So go ahead. What does he see? He sees a ladder coming down from heaven. Go ahead.
And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to the heavens.
Mm-hmm.
And behold, the angels of Elohim ascending and descending on it.
Now, they're ascending, that's up, and they're descending. You see, that these angels, okay, are doing something in this creation. And they're coming down from heaven. In other words, so if they were all cast down, how come they're getting to go back up? You see? See, these are angels in righteousness. You see? Now, the question is, what are they doing? Okay? Now, Hebrews, the 12th chapter, I think it is. I want an innumerable company of angels. Now, I was reading this transcript, and Dr. Kinley was talking about, okay, someone walking into our classroom and saying, oh, you only got a few people in here. You know? And our church, okay, we got lots of people, you know. And you look at some of these churches they got going on out here, thousands of people, millions and millions of dollars, you see. And he said, well, he said, you see, we may have empty chairs, but this room is packed. Right. This place is chock full. Okay, now go ahead and read that.
Hebrews 12:22.
Mm-hmm.
But you are come unto Mount Zion, and unto the city of the living Elohim.
Now, could you say this is a righteous place? Okay, we're not talking about satanic angels here. This is Mount Zion. You see, you're here at class, and you're hearing the gospel of Yahshua the Messiah. You're here, you're at Mount Zion, folks. You're in a heavenly place, whether you realize it or not. Okay, go ahead.
The heavenly Jerusalem, into an innumerable company of angels.
Now, whether you realize it or not, right now, present, right here, there is an innumerable company of angels. You see? So you can brag about how many people you got in your church out there, but we got an innumerable company of angels. Right here, right now. You know? And that's been a comfort to me. We've been in Tampa for about 9 years, and you know, we moved down there originally. There was 3 people who were interested, and they're thank goodness they're still coming. But for a while they didn't. And the baby was only 3 months old, so he'd get sick, and Judy'd have to stay home. And I'd go to. We had this restaurant. It was an hour drive one way that we had class at. It was a chicken restaurant. Okay, and all they sold was chicken. And they had a conference room that we could have for free if we bought and ate some chicken. I ate that chicken for 2 years. You talk about paying some dues, okay? And I don't mean this in a bad way, but it was an old cracker restaurant, okay? And I remember going down there and rolling up the charts, this boy from up north, okay? Nobody there, but I'm sitting there, I got an innumerable company of angels. You see, I wasn't alone. Yahshua was with me. And by and by, you see, a couple of these crackers started coming in to our classes. And if you know Ivan, you guys know Ivan in our class? He can't make it to these things because his health is so bad. If he comes to class, he has to bring oxygen. We bring him up to the door in a car, and he can't walk from the car to the room without stopping 3 times. And it's about 15 feet. Okay? And he hasn't missed a class in 9 years. You see? Oh, I take that back. He had surgery one time, and then he apologized for not being there. Gee, I was in the hospital. I'm sorry I didn't make it to class. And he's an old Southern cracker, and he loves this gospel, and he loves the people in class, you see? And we got a mix in Tampa. We got white, we got black, we got Cuban, we got Italian, we got everything, you see? And we're a family. And Yahshua has blessed us, you see. And every time that old man shows up, I'm still amazed, you see. Now, don't give me any excuses about not coming to class, okay? I'll give you Ivan's phone number. And he has a bad temper. You see. Now, look at it. So we are surrounded about by so great a cloud of witnesses, okay? Now, I could go on, probably a couple hours on what angels are doing in Yahweh's creation, okay? And Frank touched on it as far as working with astrocytes in the brain and stuff like that. But we got a topic, and I want to get to it, okay? But just let me tell you this much. They're intricately involved in Yahweh's purpose and plan, and have been from the beginning. And only because you don't understand, you see, Yahweh's purpose and plan, could you say that those angels were all cast down and aren't doing anything? You see, because with Jacob, they were coming in up and down in this creation. And whether you realize it or not, you see, they're here. You see? And they are ministering spirits. Okay? Let me just do one more scripture. Go over to Revelation, the last chapter. And I want where John bows down before the angel.
Revelations 22:8.
Okay.
And I, John, saw these things and heard them.
Mm-hmm.
And when I heard them and seen, I fell down to worship before the feet of the angel, which showed me these things.
Okay. You see, he just was just blown away. Got down on his knees. Go ahead.
Then saith he unto me, See thou do it not.
Get up! Get off your knees, man. Go ahead.
For I am thy fellow servant.
I am just a fellow servant. Go ahead.
And of thy brethren, the prophets.
And I am just of thy brethren, the prophets. I'm just another one of the boys. I'm just another one of the brethren, folks. That's what that angel was. He wasn't, he did. You don't want nobody bowing down to you.
That's right.
And there's a lot of people out here bowing down to a man. And Frank's right. I come from a place where they were bound down to a man, and you know what? They're in the process of switching men. Because the one took off the flesh, and they're just adopting another one. You see? Because, look, I just hate to say this, but this is the way I look at it. You see? People are stupid and lazy. Every one of us. Except for the grace of Yahshua. And to see, it's just much easier for me to go to Charles and have Charles tell me what to think than to actually think for myself and to know for myself. You see? Dr. Kinley said, every tub's going to sit on its own bottom. You better get sitting. You see? If you don't have your house in order, folks, you better get it in order. You see? Oh, you've been saying that? See, not me, but people have been saying that in class all these years. Okay? I'm going to live to 90 years old. You're going to fall in a swimming pool with an electric appliance. You see, if you're going to be that ignorant about it. Folks, look at what's going on in the world. You see? In the courts, what's going on? All these murderers from the 40s, 50s, and 60s that lynched all those people in the South, you see, and killed all those civil rights workers, all of a sudden, they're all coming to trial. And they're all getting convicted. And that killing, that guy, what a name, Killing. You see, they said in the news he was completely unrepentant. Right. You see? Now what is that a type of? See, that satanic spirit, all that's been murdering and murdering and murdering all the way down through time, they're going to be brought to justice. The books are going to be balanced, you see, and they're unrepentant. Hey, they didn't repent up here in the angelic. They sure as hell aren't going to repent now.
That's right.
You see? Now what else is going on? You've got these Live Aid concerts. They're not trying to get money anymore. They're trying to get forgiveness of the debts that people have in these poor countries. And right after that, you have all these meek, poor people in these countries, and their debts are being forgiven. So you have, on one hand, you got the unrighteous being brought to justice. On the other hand, you have the meek being forgiven. You see? And that's a type. And that's what we're going into. You see? That it's heating up. See? We're coming down to an end of an age, folks. I can't believe I'm 44 years old and I've been married for 21 years. My son's up to here, 9 years old. Breaks my heart. He even tells his friends, Daddy doesn't want me to grow up. You see? It's true, I don't. But he's got it, because he's got to support me someday. But anyway, you see, we're coming down to it. And this apostasy, you see, is just going rampant in the creation, And it's being manifested right down here in this class right now. Let's see. Okay, what are you reading for me?
I'm going to Revelation.
That's right. Read, pick it up again. I'm sorry.
Then saith he unto me, See thou do it not.
Get up, John.
For I am thy fellow servant, and of thy brethren the prophets,
Yep.
and of them which keep the sayings of this book.
Worship
Yahweh.
Now you worship Yahweh. Now the point is that, you see, these angels are ministering spirits, and they are working in this creation, and they are our brethren, you see. And you pick up examples, you see, down through the scriptures, how that with Elisha, okay, and he's surrounded by the Syrian army, and his servants all upset. And he says, Yahweh, open up his eyes, will you? And he opens his eyes, and he's surrounded by an innumerable company of angels. Can you imagine being that guy? Ooh, this is cool. You see? But that's you. You see? Those ministering spirits, and you see, and they are our brethren, and they are present. You see? May have been the one, hey, parking place is down there. You don't know. Because it says in there, beware lest ye entertain angels unawares. You see? And when we minister to each other, folks, believe it or not, you're functioning like an angel. You see, at Vanderkamp, I was talking about my background. Well, you know, when I a month or 2 months after I turned 18, my father blew town and left me, and I was 2 steps from the street. And the people in class, you see, especially Dennis, and the people in class, they got me a place to live. Dennis got me my rent. He got me food stamps, and they gave me furniture. And they checked on me to make sure I was okay. And then some of them even fed me because I couldn't cook. You see, and they ministered unto me and took care of me. And I praise Joshua to this day. You see, now I'm not boosting up Dennis, but Dennis told me, he said, Joel, if you ever need anything, I'm your ace in the hole. You see, now only a brother would do that. You see, only a family member would do that. You see, I'm all over the place, I'm sorry. You see, okay, so we got these angels. Now, shape and form. Okay? Now they want to say that Yahweh Elohim was always in shape and form. Okay? And, you know, the thing is what's so wonderful is, you know, people like Don and Irene have provided discs, Jim Andrews discs with all the transcripts in it. So if you want to find out what Dr. Kinley talked about, you can do a search. Okay? Now, you know a good search to do? Just put in, find, took on. And you're going to find where Dr. Kinley said over and over again, the Yahweh Elohim took on shape and form. Right. Okay? That he took on shape and form, like David was talking about last night. That, you see, you had this cloud, Yahweh, pure spirit. And the Yahweh, pure spirit, you see, created Yahweh Elohim, and then went out of the creating business. Okay? And then you have that, where, okay, go over to John 1:1, and go over to Colossians, first chapter, pick it up at verse 15.
John 1:1.
In
the beginning was the Word.
Now, see, John, you see, he's talking about a different beginning. You see, than Moses. Moses is talking about the beginning of the vision that he had up here in the mountain. John is talking about the beginning. For real. Go ahead.
And the Word was with Yahweh.
And the Word was with Yahweh.
And the Word was Yahweh.
And the Word was Yahweh. Now, what did this Word do? Go ahead.
The same was in the beginning with Yahweh. All things were made by Him.
Now, all things were made by Yahweh Elohim. All things were made by Him. He spoke it in. Get for me, I think it's Psalms 33:6. But go over to Colossians first.
Colossians 1:15, who is the image of the invisible El, the first cause of all creation.
Pick it up on verse 14, please.
14. In whom we have redemption through His blood.
Now, who are we talking about? Yahshua. We have redemption. No, he's saving himself. He's redeeming himself. He can't be saving nobody. We're not worth saving. Well, who the hell ever said they were? You see? Nobody is worth saving. Like I said, I like grace. Grace is my favorite thing. You see? I love it. You see? I'll take it any day of the week. You see? And without it, I'm lost. Go ahead.
In whom we have redemption through his blood, even the forgiveness of sin.
Even the what?
Forgiveness of sin.
You mean you can sin and be forgiven? Imagine that. You see? Go ahead.
Who is the image of the invisible El.
That's right.
The first cause of all creation.
Now this is talking about Yahshua. Now John 1:1, the Word created everything. All things were created by Him. You see? And then the Word was made flesh in the 14th verse. So we're talking about the same one. See, there is actually a unity to the Godhead. You see? It's not a Trinity. Go ahead.
For by him were all things created.
By Yahshua, or by Yahweh Elohim. Go ahead.
That are in heaven.
All things were created. Both in heaven, the
that
angelic,
are in earth.
And in the earth. Go ahead.
Visible and invisible.
Visible and invisible. That's angelic and, you see, flesh. Go ahead.
Whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him.
All things were created by him and for him. So Yahweh Elohim, you see, in the beginning, Yahweh created Yahweh Elohim, and all things were created by him and for him. Now you have Psalms for me, please?
Psalms 33:6.
Go ahead.
By the word of Yahweh were the heavens made.
Now by the word of Yahweh were the heavens made.
And all the host of them by the breath of his mouth.
By the breath of his mouth.
He gathereth the waters of the sea together as a heap. He layeth up the depth in storehouses.
I want where he spoke and it stood fast.
9. For he spake, and it was done.
Now see, he spoke it and it was done. Go ahead.
He commanded, and it stood fast.
He commanded and it stood fast. Instantaneous Genesis. He created this creation, boom, it was here. He spoke it in. You see, now what Moses saw up here in the mountain was super slow-mo. Okay? You see that on the football field, okay? Was his foot in bound? Let's go to the super slow-mo. Okay? And you get like 20 different angles of this guy. Okay? You see? Moses got the super slow-mo. He got it broke down over 7 days. I bet you he was sponged. Okay? 7 days. You see? That's a lot of information. Okay? But he was shown. You see? And that's what Yahweh Elohim did. That was his job. Once he was made, he started creating stuff. That's what he did. You see? And it ties into that prodigal son there also. You see? That he just blew his inheritance making this creation. You see? Now look at it. Go over to Genesis 1:1.
Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth.
Okay, we got it again. We got law, prophets, and fulfillment. Go ahead.
And the earth was without form and void.
Now look at it. He's demonstrating something here. The earth is without form and void. Okay? It's chaotic. Okay? It's incomprehensible. It's inscrutable. Now, did it stay that way? No. Yahweh spoke, and it took on shape and form. You see? It wasn't always in shape and form. It took on shape and form. Now you go over to Adam. Okay? Give me Genesis 2:7. Go ahead.
Genesis 2:7. And a river went out of Eden.
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. 2:4, holy name. And Yahweh Elohim formed man of the dust of the ground.
Now, this is talking about Adam. You got a bunch of dirt. Now, does dirt have shape and form? Okay. You see? It's got, you see, Bill, it's got iron in it. It's got calcium in it. It's got sodium in it. It's got all the stuff, but it doesn't have shape and form. You see? It's without shape and form. It's the source, right? It's the substance, right? Just like Yahweh, pure spirit. He's the source, He's the substance, and Yahweh took of that substance and He formed the man from the dust of the ground. Is that what it says? Read it, please.
And Yahweh Elohim formed man of the dust of the ground,
Uh-huh.
and breathed into his nostrils the breath
Breath
of
of
life.
life. Go ahead.
And man became a living soul.
And he became a living soul. So he took on shape and form. Adam was not always in shape and form. Now they want to say that Adam was Yahshua. Well, then he had to always be, or Yahweh Elohim, then he always had to be in shape and form too. If the correlation fits. You see, wagging that dog. You see, it don't fit. They got to make it fit. You see? So come on down. Children of Israel. You see? Yahweh sends Joseph down into Egypt. Okay? He's betrayed by his brothers, and he's sent down there into slavery. You see? He's falsely accused. He's cast into prison. Okay? And after years in prison, you see, he comes on out of there. And the Pharaoh has a dream. Okay? He has a great, stupendous dream. But he can't remember what it was. You see? And so he asks, you guys got to tell me what this dream means. Well, nobody can tell you that. You see? And then remember, was it the butcher or the baker or whoever, you see, that got the vision told in prison, remembers Joseph and brings him up out of there, you see. And Joseph tells him of the 7 years of famine that'll come after the 7 years of plenty. So, see, Egypt, you see, is not like it is today. It was a rich country. You see. And it had the best farmland in the world. And had a wonderful source, you see, of water, that Nile River, which flooded every year, replenished the fields, you see. And Joseph is made, you see, the second to Pharaoh, and is called, you see, the Savior of the world, Zaph-Pathaniah, okay? And through that vision, and that revelation, you see, Egypt stores all that food, okay? And then when the famine comes, the whole world comes to Egypt. And they give them their gold. They give them their silver, their linen. They finally sell their souls. You see? And all of the world's riches are gathered here in Egypt. Now later on down, you see, now it was Yahweh who laid up that substance. Okay? It's Yahweh who put that stuff there. Now was there a tabernacle down here? Yahweh transformed into the tabernacle, and then back into this anthropomorphic being, showing that he and that tabernacle are what? One and the same thing. So if you're going to have an example in the creation, you'd think that the pattern would be the best one, wouldn't you? It's Yahweh Elohim, you see? It's an example of him. So if he was always in shape and form, then this pattern must always be in shape and form, right? But it's not. Yahweh laid up the substance down here in Egypt, you see? And then they borrowed from the Egyptians. It says they spoiled them. They came out of there just dripping with gold and silver and linen and all kinds of fineness, you see? They came up with the stuff that Yahweh sent in there, you see? And then when they come up to this mountain, Moses comes on down from this vision, you see, and they come up out of Egypt. And you see, it says that they gave willingly of their own hearts. But you know what? They didn't do anything to get that stuff. It was Yahweh's substance. Now down here, there was no shape and form. But up here, that substance took on shape and form. You see? Yahweh Elohim took on shape and form right here in this tabernacle. You see? It's, oh, you're a smart guy coming up with that stuff. I'm coming right out of the transcripts of this stuff. See? This is what the founder taught. Okay? Be an idiot to take credit for it. Now, this is also something that the founder said. You have a man and woman come together, okay? And you have that woman clothed in light. See, that egg is surrounded by the corona radiata, which means crown of light. You see? And that sperm, you see? 4 million sperm, you see, come in there. And there's a cloud, okay? And that ovum, and that sperm. The sperm's the smallest cell in the body, the ovum's the biggest cell in the body. They come together, okay? You see? They come together, and there's Bill. Everything that Bill is there, you see? Now, they're doing twin studies, and they take these identical twins that were separated at birth and raised in different places. There's this one set of twins where the guys married a woman named Linda, got divorced, and married a woman named Barbara. Now, they'd never met before. They smoked Salem cigarettes. They walked the same way. They talked the same way. They grew up in different places completely. They vacationed every year at the same beach in Florida. You see? Now, they have so many stories of these identical twins that were raised separately that it's phenomenal. That these guys will have a heart attack at the same age. They'll develop cancer at the same age. They'll have the same diseases. A lot of times they go into the same exact profession, you see? And you think, there's no predestination, there's free will. Darn it, okay? No, there's not. From a natural standpoint, you are your DNA, okay? See, Dennis used to use the example of ice cream, okay? Now you have a choice. You can choose chocolate or vanilla. But you see, I don't know why I like chocolate. I just like chocolate better. Now, I made a choice, okay? I could choose, but the choice is already made. It's wired into us, even the foods that we like, you see? Now, here's Bill, okay? Ovum and sperm, okay? You see? A fertilized embryo, okay? But all it is a little round thing with a bunch of DNA. No shape and form, you see? And then what happens is that comes down into the womb, okay? And it starts to take on shape and form, you see? See, it's not a little Bill, you see, with the glasses and the beard, you see, up there in the ovary, and then a little bit bigger Bill here, and then Bill comes out, and then Bill just gets bigger all the time, okay? You see, it's not that way. It goes from abstract to intermediate to concrete. That you take on shape and form. Now, look at it. This is what the founder taught. This is what Dr. Kinley taught. And I can show you in the transcripts where these are the examples that he used. You see? So if you don't want to accept it, you don't like me or whatever, that's fine. Okay? You see? But you're going to have to answer. Okay? You see? Talk about every tub sitting on its own bottom. I'm not going to be able to say, well, Fred told you. Well, no, Charles said this. And it's just not going to work. See, Yahweh took on shape and form. Now, witnesses they'll say is you got the circle of Willis. Okay? Shows forth the stick figure of a man, you see, and therefore in that cloud. And therefore they say that cloud is, or that stick figure of a man is always in shape and form. Okay? That's one of the witnesses.
Right.
Okay? Now, let me just tell you this. Okay? I'm not bragging on myself. Okay? I'm just telling you what my qualifications are to dispute this argument. Okay? I teach MDs. Okay? That's what I do. I teach doctors anatomy and physiology, and I teach them how to do research. Okay? I have a master's degree in molecular biology, and I'm going to have a PhD very soon. This is what I do for a living. Okay? And I'm not bragging on myself, because I'll tell you, if it wasn't for this class, I'd probably be a crack addict out there in the street someplace. See? I know where I came from. And I'm not bragging on myself one bit. If any glory should be given, it's to Yahshua for saving me from that fate. Because I came in here right out of reform school and right out of jail. And wanted to do every drug I could get my hands on. You see? And I came down into this class and I changed. There was a conversion. And I have never been the same since. And I have no desire to go back into that. You see? That Yahshua, and He's the one that put the interest in science in me. You see? He's the one who did that. So when I talk about the anatomy and physiology of the brain, I do know what I'm talking about. Okay? That's all I'm saying. Now, when a baby, when the embryo comes on down into the womb and starts to take on shape and form, the first thing that forms is the brain. Right. That neural tissue. Okay? And it forms three parts. Okay? Which later become the cerebrum, the cerebellum, and the brainstem, the three parts of the brain. Now, after that cloud, you see, appears in the womb, after that nervous system has appeared, then, and only then, does the circulatory system start to form. So you got a cloud, folks, and that man takes on shape and form where? In the cloud. He's not always in shape and form. Okay? And that's and you know, for a doctor to say that, I'd give him an F. You know, I love teaching anatomy because I got my students trained. Okay? I tell them from the beginning, everything has three parts. And they laugh. Because I'll go, okay, today we're going to talk about the eye. Anybody know how many parts there are? And the whole class goes, 3 parts. And I'll say, okay, we're going to talk about the ear. Anybody know how many parts there are? And they all go, 3 parts. And then I say, well, okay, how about the inner ear? 3 parts. You see, they laugh at me. They think I'm a nutcase. You're probably right. Okay? But I just have a blast doing it. You see? Because the whole thing goes 3 parts all the way down through. You see? I would just love to spend one lecture just telling them about the reality of their anatomy and physiology, but I'd probably get fired the next week. See? Now look at in the creation. They're looking up in the telescopes, okay, and they see the stick figure of a man, okay, and then they say, do we have a eraser? Oh, that's okay. They say they got the stick figure of a man, okay, that's formed by the galaxies, okay, and they say that because that's up in the heavens, that's another witness that Yahweh was always in shape and form. Now, first of all, they say it's a red band, okay, just like the Circle of Willis. And then they go on over, talk about where Josh was, clothed in red. And Rick was talking about that, how that it was red from the blood, you see. That it was dyed red, you see. And they, well, hey, here's Joe. Joe, you got to change this. It's got to be red. It's got to be red. They want to make him a red man. And finally, I got an answer from Dr. Harris about why they want to make him red. And they said because he's the lamb slain from the foundation of the world. However, if he is always in shape and form, then how is he the lamb slain from the foundation of the world?
That's right. That's right.
Now, what do you mean by that? You see, I forget the way they describe it, but they call Yahweh pure spirit, a glob of nothingness or something. Homogeneous glob of nothingness. Okay. Now look at it. Yahweh pure spirit is not a homogeneous glob of nothingness. Okay. He's incomprehensible and inscrutable to us, not himself. You see, Yahweh, Elohim, is order itself, folks. You see, their shape and form in principle. You see? See, just like a man. Okay, you take a man. Okay, I got all my power tools. And they all got their spot. Okay, they're organized in my shop. Okay, Judy, stay out of my shop. My power tools. Okay, because my wife will pick something up, and wherever it lands, that's where it stays. Okay? Now, I have my power tools. Okay? And when I talk to her, you see, I'm a little compulsive. Even when I'm at work, I have a list every day. I sit down with my coffee and I make a list of what I'm going to do. Okay? And then I say to my students, this is what we're going to do. Okay? And I lay it out for them. I first organize it here. Okay? So there is shape and form. But they don't see it. It's incomprehensible and inscrutable. A purpose is formulated. See, a purpose is something that goes, you see, in an organized fashion. And then when he stepped out of this cloud, he was just speaking the purpose that he had already formulated in the cloud. So yeah, he is always, there is shape and form. But this shape and form was not always there. You see? Now look at it. When he stepped out of this state, okay, now this state is a glorified state. This is his natural state, if I could put it that way. And for him to come on down into this shape and form, that was a death. That was the death. So if you want to paint him red, then you can't say he was always in shape and form. Because then he did not, you see, die. He was not the lamb slain from the foundation of the world if he was always in shape and form. See? 101. That is 101, folks. That's the basics. You see? Now look at it. We're looking out into the stars with our telescope, okay? And we're seeing the stick figure of a man. But what you don't realize is that the creation that we live in, you see, this universe is expanding. And most of the substance is, if you look at it like a balloon, is on the outside of this balloon and expanding. Okay? Now, you take the stick figure of a man, okay, and you put that on a balloon, it's going to start losing shape and form. It's going to start coming apart. These galaxies, folks, they're coming apart. First of all, they weren't always in shape and form. They were one mass of cells, of galaxies. And then as the universe separated, they took on this shape and form. And as the universe expands, that shape and form is going to disappear because of, you see, the attraction, gravitationally, of larger masses, smaller masses. And it's going to come apart. But you know the reality of it is? We're looking at light that's 1 billion years old. It's no longer in shape and form. So they got a stick figure of a man up there that's no longer in reality in shape and form. Because the light that we're getting from those galaxies is so ancient, it's no longer there anymore in reality.
Right.
Okay, I'm out of that. Anyways, I'll just say one more thing. Okay. Now, see, this is so important. I didn't even get to the article I wanted to get to. You see, this is so important too because, you see, under this covenant now, okay, David was talking about Hebrews, the 12th chapter, that cloud of witnesses, that Yahshua is taking on shape and form in your mind. You see, from a natural standpoint, let's say I've never met Renee before, okay, and someone says, oh, her name is Renee, okay. Now, that name has no significance. It's not until I get to see her talent, which she obviously has wonderful talent. You see, her sense of humor, found out she likes the Lord of the Rings. Now we're family. So now when I say Renee, that name has some significance. And when I say that name Renee, I have an image of what she is like. Not only her physical attributes, but her real attributes, her spiritual attributes. You see? And Yahshua, that cloud of witnesses, and you learn all this stuff. You see, people go, why are you getting into all this little stuff? Because we're giving you a cloud. We're giving you all this cloud. Okay? And hopefully, if we make a big enough cloud, and Yahshua has grace, you see, he'll take on shape and form within you. Paul talks about that little children. You see, I can't quote it right, but he talks about Yahshua being formed in you. Right. You see? And you, when you hear Yahshua, you know what you're thinking about. You see? One more thing. Talking about neurology, brain. And that memory is one of the most complex things in the brain. Okay? And students, how many levels of memory are there? 3. Okay? You have primary memories. Okay? You have secondary memories. And you have tertiary memories. The threefold. Okay? And tertiary memories are the highest form of memory. Okay? And the example that they give, you see, those are memories that are part of you. Those are memories that are hardwired into your being. And the best example that they can give of that in my anatomy textbook is your own name. See? Now you come down here into class and you see, you go through a process, okay, where you get some information and Yahshua starts to take on shape and form. And that name starts to take on a significance, like the tertiary memories. And it becomes a part of your being. And it goes along with that image that takes on shape and form within you. And that's how, you see, this works. See, this is just the creation. This is a creation too. And if Yahshua takes on shape and form, or Yahweh Elohim takes on shape and form, in the greater creation, he's taking on shape and form within each and every one of us. So with that, I'm sorry if I went a couple minutes over. It's good to be here.